Noob D&D Dad here, and I just want to tell you about one of the sessions I just had with my son and my friend. They've been in Axholm for the last 4 sessions because I accidentally let them go there, being very underpowered, because when it came time to go back to the job board in Phandalin, after they had finished the main 3 quests, I decided to just roll a d6 3 times for the other side quests instead of paying attention to what the book says, which is you need to kind of do them in order. So anyway, Axholm was the one that they chose because it sounded the coolest. So they've been there for 4 sessions because they're only level 3. And I never like to waste a good travel time. So on their way there, I rolled the d20 for the location of Cryovane the dragon. And it actually showed up to be at Axholm where they were going. And so they're like in an open field. And so they're exposed, and this dragon starts circling around. And so my friend's a sorcerer, and my son is a wizard. And they're like cruising through this field, and I tried to populate so that there would be like a little wall they could go hide behind or whatever, but turns out the dragon totally saw them. And so he starts doing like a dive, like he's like doing like swooping down and trying to get them. And my friend does like a Naruto thing and makes a whole bunch of copies of himself, which basically saved them. But my son loved this part so much. So the dragon is doing like a dive towards him to get him. And my son decides to just start running towards the dragon, because if he can get underneath the dive, right, as he's coming towards him, then the dragon can't correct it to go down as sharply as he would need to. And so my son loved that he was able to basically escape the dragon's dive. Anyway, they made it to Axholm. And I got this idea from somebody online, but I don't remember who it was. I've been watching a lot of really helpful tutorials, and I don't remember who it was. But I think they decided to have somebody like camping in front of Axholm. Anyway, so I have a D20 system for names that I wrote the alphabet down 1 through 20, and then since D20 doesn't go to the whole alphabet, the last, like a 20 can be like the last 5 or 6 letters of the alphabet. Anyway, so I rolled, and the names that I came up with, I had it be a father and 2 sons camping in front of Axholm. And so my son and my friend basically run up into the entrance of Axholm to get away from the dragon, right? And they come upon this older guy, like gray hair, and his 2 sons, and his name is Yance, and the 2 sons are Leaf and Errol. And they're veteran stat block, but I lowered their hit points a little bit, and I made it so they only have a heavy crossbow and a short sword instead of the 2 swords, the multi-attack, and everything. So anyway, so they go inside of Axholm. My son uses the spell Unlock or something to open the portcullis, which I was seeing other YouTubers saying like it's gonna be like multiple people trying to open the portcullis because it's so heavy. Anyway, so he used a spell and they got in, and I just had it making the creepiest noises, like you hear like screaming in there and like moaning, and there's like this awful deathly gross smell coming out of it, and they were like getting freaked out, and I had the NPCs get freaked out too. They're like, we don't want to go in there, we'd rather face a dragon. So to like really point out that it's scary in there. So the reason I put the NPCs is because I realized the error of my ways in that is way too dangerous for 2 level 3 spellcasters to go into this place. So So they go in and actually they slept. They did a long rest inside of the like just beyond the portcullis and before the wooden doors of Axholm, and they actually moved the campfire inside of that and slept there for the night. All right, it is such a lovely weather outside, but I should probably go inside. So they spend the night inside the entryway of this castle, and there's just all these scary noises. And anyway, so skip ahead to day 4 of Axholm. I'll go back because this is the one that we had just last night. So they fought a lot of ghouls, and I mentioned earlier that I made the ghouls more like dusty, so that when they hit them, they kind of break apart instead of like blood splash. And so this session we had last night, oh gosh, this is my map. You can't see it. I made this for them using Bob World Builder's map making technique. So anyway, they do all manner of exploring and ghoul killing, but I really just wanted to talk about the one from last night. So they go into like this skinny area that has a bunch of ballistas pointing through like little battlement slit things, and they go in there and they open the door outwards, and they're always very scared now when they open doors because I've done things to them, which makes me feel really proud. And so they all get all ready, and they get their I was gonna say blasters, but they get their crossbows up, right? And everybody in my world with crossbows, at least the good guys, they always have a sling on their crossbow, so that like you can shoot your crossbow and then just like drop it, and it'll, you know, kind of like if you have like a rifle, and then you drop your rifle and then you can pull out your secondary weapon. Anyway, so they go open this door to get into the place with all the ballistas, and I decided that I wanted to have some dead dwarfs in there that hadn't been turned into ghouls, just for like flavor and scenery. And my son later told me that he really liked this part. So they open the door, and of course they all have their crossbows and everything ready to go, and their spells or whatever. And I just had this dead dwarf like sitting against the door, like an old skeleton dwarf, right? So they open the door, and it just like falls backwards, like onto their feet, but it's like fully like armor, helmet, shield, and axe, and it's just like falls back, and it's like a skeleton. And so they start exploring this little skinny area with all these ballistas in it, and up to this point, I've just been using what the book says, the Dragon of Icespire Peak book, what it says about magic items, right? So they've been getting the magic items. At the pace of the book, but I started feeling like, one, I led them into a place that's like way too scary for their power level, and two, I feel like I've been giving the veteran group, so I'm DMing 2 different groups, I feel like I've been giving them more magic items. So I'm like, do you know what? I was so determined to stick to this book as close as I could, but I'm like, I'm going to give these guys a magic item. And so I had another skeleton of a dwarf warrior like face down, and I just described it, and then I like to just be quiet and see what they do. And my friend is like so not interested in more ghouls getting animated that he's like, we got to spread the bones around. So they're just like, okay, we're going to kick these bones around. We're going to spread them apart and like start crunching them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like really dark. But I have them find a +1 silvered crossbow underneath this guy. And he has a satchel that has 20 silvered crossbow bolts. And they were so excited. They're like, this is our first magic weapon we found. And they were just really, really excited. And they're like, yeah, so you get +1 to your attack and +1 to damage. And yeah, they were very excited. And so my son took that because a wizard is proficient in a light crossbow. So he was so excited to have it. And so they were kind of in this little secure area, but there were some stairs. And my friend decided to YOLO it a little bit and just go up the stairs. And I have him, and he has a torch. And he starts going up the stairs, and you start seeing like gossamer in your face, like spider webs, and it's getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And this is a part that like I really wanted to do this description. I really wanted it to be where like the further they get into like the spider den is the webs get thicker and thicker, and it like slows them down and like sticks to them and makes it like they start feeling trapped. But he's like, nope, I don't like this. So he gets out his torch and just starts burning them all. And I was like, haha, it's gonna get somebody's attention. So he goes up into this like upper area, and everyone decides to follow behind. And he shines his torch up, and up like all around on the ceiling are these just like glowing spider eyes. All right, so if you look at the map, they were in A3, and then they went upstairs to A22, which is totally full of spiders. It's full of these guys right here. Ooh. So my wife asked me, she's like, how did you do that encounter without throwing up? Because I really don't like spiders. And I think I told her that the joy that I was having in grossing them out is I think what kept me from throwing up. So they all go up there, and there's all these like glowing spider eyes, like from the torchlight, right? And it's just like attack time. And the book suggests you do, what was it? It was like 3 or a spider per member. Let's just look at it. Okay, so A22, it says on the giant spiders. So 3 spiders plus 1 additional for each party member, but not counting sidekicks. And so I decided that Yance, Leaf, and Errol are sidekicks, so they don't count. So there's 5 giant spiders, and it just goes into battle mode. And these spiders have the coolest powers. All right, look at this. So they have a bite and a web shooting thing. And the way that, so I had just watched Ginny D's video about doing good battle stuff. And so I was like, okay, this is my chance to practice. Like, these spiders are going to be so dynamic and like tactical and interesting. So I had these spiders like climbing over the ceiling and like coming down and like using their web and using their bite and like backpedaling, and like I really thank her for that video, because I really was trying to make the combat like interesting and dynamic. And so what I would do when it's time for us, when it's a spider's turn to attack, right? So everybody rolls initiative, and each spider had its own initiative. So when it was a spider's turn, I had them, I number the characters. So I just put them like 1 through, well, there's only 5 of them, right? Because there's the 2, my son and my friend, and then the 3, the dad and his 2 sons that are there. So I number them, I assign them numbers, and then I roll a die, and that is the person that spider is going to attack. And then I roll a die, like a 50% die, if they're going to bite or shoot a web. And so depending on that, then they shoot a web, and the web restrains them so they can't fight. And so these guys are getting restrained left and right. These spiders are getting closer and closer. They're biting them. And like, it was actually starting to look pretty bad. I'm like, am I gonna kill everybody? And one thing that Ginny D said is that you need to adjust the combat so you don't wipe everybody out. So I started having some of the spiders would start attacking someone else, and it would provoke attack of opportunity. And so like my son would be able to do like another attack as they went by. Anyway, some of the highlights of the spider deaths are my son was using like a frosty ray or whatever and like shot them, and like he blasted one in the face and it like froze one of its eyeballs, and the eyeball like froze and like fell out of its head and like rolled across the floor like a marble, and then they like stepped on it and it squished out black stuff. So I know I said I toned it down for my son, but for whatever reason, like when it's like a creature instead of like a humanoid, I just make it so much more gory, and they love it so much. Anyway, they're chopping off legs and stuff as they're wearing the hit points down. And every time, so I had the main dad was like so mad because one of the spiders like webbed up one of the sons and then went and was like biting him. And like, I'm like, this guy's gonna die. Like one of this guy's sons is gonna die. And at this point, like they're part of the party. Like they've joined, and they tell my friend and my son, they're like, we trust you. Like we think you guys can keep us alive. Anyway, so this dad is like so mad. So he gets his short sword and he like slashes, and it cuts the spider's face in half like this and kills it, because it was like the killing blow, right? And like the spider was already like backpedaling, trying to get away. And so its legs keep twitching backwards, and it's like it like slumps down on the ground and it's like twitching backwards while its like split open head is like dragging on the floor. It's so gross. Oh, but I loved it. It was so fun. My son loved it. He's 8 years old. And yeah, I had some of the spiders trying to run away too, because they're just like, we're all gonna die. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that combat and that Ginny D's ideas were helpful. And these guys have been in Axholm for 4 sessions to the point. So what they do is they go out and like clear a few rooms, and then they go back to a room they know is clear, and they like hunker down and do a long rest because they would die. And so I realized that the normal milestone level up is not going to work because they've been in the same place for 4 sessions. So after the spider battle, I had to go take my 1-year-old and go put him to bed. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, we're going to long rest right here. And I was like, yeah, and level up. And they were like, yeah, like we leveled up. And I was like, and I just kind of barely learned like how to use inspiration. And so I was like, you guys did so good in there, like playing as a team and like doing all your stuff. I was like, you guys get inspiration also. And they were just like, whoa. And they were so excited. My son's so excited to go through and pick new spells. And they're like, he's talking about how he has a new spell that does like 3d8 damage. And they're like, now we're going to be able to do more damage in here. And they're loving it. I mean, my friend has been playing D&D for 20 years, but my son, like, this is it. This is his beginnerness time. And he's loving it. And do you know what? I'm loving it. I'm having fun grossing them out with all this spider gore. And I'm having fun making it scary, like the ambiance of the building, like the air movement and the scary noise in the background. And like it's just been so much fun to just take these very simple guidelines in this book here and just like expand it out and just breathe life into it. And it's so fun to see. I try as much as I can to just be quiet. Like, okay, here's the room you're in. What are you going to do? And just try to let the world react to what they do. And it was so fun. And so just, this was session number 9 for these guys. And so I've been taking notes on to go back and explain or share some like fun stories that they've done so far. But this one that I've been recounting to you has largely been session number 9, which is session number 4 in this Axholm castle, which according to this world is actually so normally they want to clear out the castle as the objective. Right here. Hang on, where's that? Axholm, right there. So they want to clear it out because the town might need more, they might need to hunker down there if the dragon attacks, right? But in my Phandalin, well, for my son's Phandalin, Mount Hotnow has exploded in a gigantic eruption like Mount St. Helens. But I also want it to be more lava-y, like actually running lava. And so, but I think Phandalin's like 60 miles south of there, maybe further. But the point is, like, the sky's black. Phandalin is full of refugees. And at this point, there's like a tent city. Tents are lining the roads. And it's even more important for my son and my friend to clear out Axholm, because then Phandalin can expand into Axholm and like more people can live there. They can turn it into like a community, not just a place to hunker down, but like a new place to live. And I haven't told, well, they don't know this, right? Because I roll the D20 every time to see where the dragon is, right? Every time there's like a scene change, I roll a D20 to see where the dragon is. Right here. Right there, right? So that's all the different places the dragon could be. And actually, it's really funny. In both campaigns, in the veteran campaign and this campaign, my son's, the dragon is currently in Phandalin. And so when they get back from Axholm, like whether or not they have to leave because the banshee's totally gonna like kill them, and they have to just come back later when they're stronger, or if they clear it out and they go back to Phandalin, like we're heroes, we're here for our reward. Like the dragon is either gonna, well, it'll be there, and like it's crazy. There's a lot of people that are like, there's gonna be the stakes of the dragon are gonna be increased for both parties, because when the vet group finally gets back to Phandalin, the dragon's also gonna be there, and I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna have the dragon have taken some things from the vet group or not. They'll be so mad. Anyway, so I can't even express. I'm having so much fun DMing 2 different groups, and my son's having a blast, and the vets are having a blast. Like they tell me so, which makes me feel good. And my friend's having fun too, and he said he'd let me know if I screwed it up. Well, thank you for watching. Thanks for listening to my story. I just thought it was so cool. I loved controlling these disgusting giant spiders, and you know what? I can't wait to swarm these army veterans with these giant disgusting spiders, because they're getting so powerful, right? Because they're all those different characters that I told you about last time. Paladin, warlock, half orc, half elf, bard, gnome, rogue, goblin, sorcerer. That's my other party. That's the other party. And I just can't wait. I can't wait for the right excuse to just swarm them with giant spiders and, I don't know, web and poison them within an inch of their life. Like, I love it. So anyway, this has been fun. I'm loving this journey. This was session number 18. Yeah, session 18 total that I've DM'd. So 9 for the vet group and 9 for my son. And it's great. And I do want to say something about the support that I've gotten so far on this channel is like unreal. It is. My wife thinks it's so cool, and it's so motivating. So thank you everybody for letting me know, like talking to me in the comments. Thank you for engaging with me in like the YouTube things, like the thumb up and the comment things, like, because that actually I think that can share this fun with more people. So thank you so much for doing that. It really means a lot, and I can't wait to share more of this with you and just tell you more of the things that we've come up with and things that we've done as a noob D&D dad. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you like this kind of thing, and I'd love feedback. So many of you put so much awesome DM advice, and I'm absolutely going to do my best to follow it. So any DM advice, here's a few questions I have. How often should I be dispersing magic items as they travel the world? Like, how often should they come across them? And another thing I was wondering about, crossbows, loading. The way I've been playing it is that when it's your turn, during a fight, you can shoot the crossbow. And then your next turn comes around, that crossbow has to be loaded. So you can spend that entire turn loading it, and then your next turn, then you can shoot it again. That's my understanding of the crossbow, is that it takes a full load. So whether it's the heavy, the light, or even the hand crossbow, in the book they all say loading next to it. So do you guys ever load and shoot as part of your 6-second turn? One thing I was thinking of doing is going somewhere where they can, maybe to the gnomes, where they can pay to have their crossbow modified to have like this like gearbox on it, to where they can, after they shoot it, they can like crank it and load it like a lot quicker, so that they can load it and fire it in the same turn, so they could fire it every turn in combat. I was thinking of having them go somewhere where they can pay to do that. Anyway, is that right? Like, is it take a turn to load it? I don't know. I'd love answers. So thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. And everyone's been so amazingly supportive. It's been very heartwarming, and it's fun to see a lot of other dads DMing for their kids as well. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.